Liam Payne of One Direction, Avicii, Mary Monroe. What's the one thing that they all have in common? Can you guess? They all committed suicide. These are celebrities that committed suicide. Let's bring it home. Nick Imudia, CEO of Konga. And then we have Laulu Martins, CEO of Buka Hut. These are also billionaires or multi-millionaires at least who committed suicide. And I wanted to use a couple of people as case studies to talk about something very sensitive, which is fulfillment in life and lessons to learn, from celebrities basically, who have died either by suicide or by drug overdose or whatever. And the reason why I want to speak on this is because I feel like there is a faulty perception that we have as human beings, and I would like to clear that. You're a normal Nigerian, looking for your daily bread. And let's say that for some miracle, I'm going to paint a scenario. Or let me just use myself as a scenario. I remember when I was job hunting, and back then, if you had given me a job of like 50,000, 70,000, 80,000, I would have been the most grateful man on earth. Okay, and so I got a job that was going to pay me like 200,000, and I was the happiest person on earth. But after a while, I felt like the money is just there. I think I need to earn more. Right? Fast forward, start earning more. Had made like 300k monthly. Now I was happy. I wanted more. Got a different job, earn more. I wanted more, earn more. I wanted more, earn more. I wanted more. And after a while, I asked myself a question. I said, at what point am I going to feel satisfied? Because it feels like when I feel this emptiness inside of me, I want to cover the emptiness by earning more money, because I feel like somehow this money would satisfy a part of me that feels empty. After a while, I realized that I was really just going round in circles, like it was like a rat race, whereby I'm chasing emptiness and depression small by small. Emptiness and depression is chasing me small by small. It's like when it wants to catch my tail, I'll go and get the next, fat paycheck. When the next one wants to catch me, I'm holding to the next, paycheck and things like that. And I realized something, thinking about this a couple of days ago, that it's the mindset that most people run along with. When we see the $100 kids, all the other rich kids, we think that they seldom have any real issues in life. We think that their lives is just moving smoothly. In fact, when they come out to complain, we invalidate their complaints. We always make it feel like they have everything easy in life. But that's not necessarily true. They suffer with their own fair share of issues, and their issues are as valid as ours. And so it's a mindset that we have to correct, whereby we feel like money is the entirety of everything. And when you have money, most or all your problems go away. It's true that money will solve a lot of your problems, but it's not true that you're going to find the fulfillment you want, from life, just from money. And looking at the celebrities that, have died, or the rich people that have died that I mentioned, we also have Michael Jackson. We have Whitney Houston. Now, they didn't commit suicide, but guess what? They died from a drug overdose. A drug overdose, by the way, is indicative of something. It's indicative that at the very least you had an addiction to drugs and you took too much of it and died. Now, what does it mean for someone to have an overdose in a normal, expected way that we observe? That's in an observable manner. What it means for you to have an overdose is that you first had an addiction. And when you had that addiction, you started taking it in small bits and portions. But these small bits and portions were not sufficient to get you to the high level that you needed to be. So you started increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing till you overdosed. You started mixing different things till you overdosed. It might feel funny because Michael Jackson was the most celebrated black musician back then in the world. Some would even argue the most celebrated worldwide. Same thing with Whitney Houston. So it'll feel like they would have gotten all of the satisfaction and fulfillment that they needed from life or in life from people who loved them, who cherished them, who supported them, who had their backs. But that wasn't the case. For someone like Imodia, owner of Konga, I mean, from the outside perspective, it seemed like he had all of the money, but that wasn't the case. Research shows that in America, the top 3 deaths, cause of death among celebrities, I think number 1 is heart attack, number 2 is suicide, number 3 is drug overdose. And sometimes the heart attack sometimes is sometimes as a result of stress, bad eating habit, but it could also be as a result of the strain and the stress that your heart has had to go through, from all of the drugs and all of those things. Now, it's funny because 2 out of the 3 top deaths is either overdose or suicide. So it's either you had an overdose and they could not even determine if it was suicide or an overdose. The question I would now ask is, if all of these people who you envy, who you feel like, if I can get to Chris Brown's level, I don't think I'll ask God for anything again. That's the final destination. If all of these people could get to that level, and while they were building up, when they were trying to get to that height, because some of them came from poverty, when they were growing, they had a level of expectation that if I can get to this highest level, I'm going to get all of the fulfillment and satisfaction I need from life. They got to the highest level, and the reality of what they faced below, they faced above. What? Emptiness. Akon said something. Akon said that he wishes that he could go back to this way he didn't have money. That now that he has money, that sometimes he still feels the same way. The emptiness and all of those things. It's very important because we would expect that the higher you go, the more satisfied you feel. But from reality, we can see that among celebrities, the cause of death is usually as a result of emptiness. Overdose, you're chasing a high because without the high, you feel like shit. Suicide, you need a way of escape. And the way of escape that you can find is to just end your life because you can't handle the depression, you can't handle all of the negative emotions anymore. So there is a delusion that we must wake up from. And we must first recognize the issue. The issue is social education. Your child begins to go to school. Your child is wondering, why do I have to go to school? You're telling the child so that you can get a job and make money. You're ingraining in that child that the central theme of life is about making money. Subconsciously, you're doing that. Somebody is trying to pick something less for something more because in the less, he finds passion in it. But you make him feel like he's a fool for picking something less. And both, he can live off both and he'll be okay. But you make him feel like he's a fool for picking something less. Why? Because something more is going to bring more money. And yes, money is important, but we've overemphasized the importance of money. So much more that we now begin to surround the entirety and the relevance of our life by money. A woman would not want to date a man until he's successful. The other day, when Pastor Olushola of CCI, proposed to his now wife, back then, to be his fiancé, will you marry me and all. I think there was a lady that was crying, saying that God showed her in a vision that he was going to be her wife. He was going to be her husband, He was going to be her husband. God showed her in a vision. And the question I would naturally ask if I've seen her is, if God gives you that vision about 4 years ago when evidence never did, will you believe? Will you be crying like this if he had proposed? If it was 4 years ago? And so I think that we've overemphasized the importance of money and success as a yardstick for fulfillment. How do we find fulfillment? Fulfillment, at the end of the day, can be gotten with the combination of the right mindset, finding your identity and finding your purpose. So you must have the right perspective as to what money is, as to what self-actualization and accomplishment is. You must have the right sense of identity, and then you must have a sense of purpose. Those 3 things must come together for fulfillment to take place. How do I have the right mindset? Have a balanced and healthy view of money. Stop thinking like money is the ultimate goal in life. Think people first before you think money. There's only a rule around making money, and the rule is that in order for you to build your net worth, you must build your network. And before you can build your network, people must like you. So that means that at the very least, you must value people above the way you value money. So you have all of those things. So you must have the right mindset about money. Secondly, you must have the right identity. And I always say, having the right identity must come from a place of the eventual goal of having the right identity is for wholeness to take place. And as a Christian, I would always say this, that the identity that comes from Christ is totally worth it. When the writers of the Bible would typically write, they would write things about like you're holy, you're light, you're blameless. I did a video series on these, 10 reasons why you matter. And I basically spoke about these things. That God of the heavens and the earth who said that you're righteous, you're holy, you're blameless, you have worth, He died for you, things like that. When you sober reflect on these truths, you would think highly of yourself. A man that thinks highly of himself cannot be suffering with depression. A man that thinks highly, you truly believe that you're high and you think highly of yourself, you cannot suffer depression. Because some of the persistent thoughts that comes with depression are things like, why do I matter? Why should I matter? And so you must get the identity hack right. Because if you think that life is all about money, your identity is all about money, and you make all of the money, and the money cannot feed your heart, the money cannot give you the right and healthy sense of identity, and all of those unmet expectations now come staring at you in the face, you're going to have a heart crash. So you must have the right identity. And I would always recommend one that comes from faith in Christ, knowing that God in flesh came to die for me. Very important. Very reassuring. Second thing is this: living your life for people as opposed to living your life for yourself. And I will explain, okay? But I'm going to explain with this question. If I asked you a question, mention somebody that was the richest man in the 1700s. Can you mention? Can you mention somebody that was the richest in the 1800s? Can you mention somebody that was the richest in the 1900s? Of course, you will not be able to mention. Now, it will take a financial guru, because that's his field, to know that, okay, probably Rockefeller was the richest in the 1800s or in the 1900s. I can't remember. I think he sprung within that time period. It will take someone, a financial guru, to know these things. In the 1900s, I can speak about many people. I can speak about the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. I can speak about the likes of Mahatma Gandhi. I don't know if it was in the early 1900s. I can speak about Mother Teresa. People who devoted their lives to others. The point is that the only reason why anyone would ever remember you is because of what you did in the service of humanity. Now, I'm not saying that you must be a civil rights activist. I'm not saying that. I'm only saying that relevance in time is gotten by service to humanity. Martin Luther King Jr., someone who inspires me a lot, will always say that the most important and pertinent question to ask in life is, what am I doing for other people? It is impossible to attain happiness. Yes, you can have a happiness in bits and pieces, but it is impossible for it to be constantly happy. What you can chase, for instance, is long-term fulfillment, which can only be gotten in service to other people. What that means is that the more you try to live your life to make yourself happy, the more miserable you're going to be. But the more you try to live your life in service to humanity, in service to other people, the more you just might get the fulfillment that you're looking for. You just might. And again, I'll come from the Christian perspective that now says that the direction of our service to humanity comes within the context of God's will. So for instance now, God might will that, okay, as an assignment, part of the things I'm meant to do, is that I'm meant to help children on the streets, take children to school. For some people, God might will that, okay, they help orphanage homes. I'm just giving examples. For some people, God would entail that they help people who are addicted to drugs. For some people, God would, it would entail that they just had to do something that made the world a better place as a result, and not something that they did just for their own self. And so that's the right perspective to have towards life. You don't just live life for self-gratification. What you can do about yourself. Life is not just about me. Life is not just about self-love. I think it was Mahatma Gandhi that said this. He said something along the lines of, you find yourself when you lose yourself in the service to others. Through selflessness, through selfless acts. All of the rich people that I mentioned, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being rich, but all of the rich people that I asked you to mention from the 17th century that you don't know anything about, and all of the people who did something in service to humanity, most or all of them always had a quote that had to deal with fulfillment, and in the context of talking about fulfillment, it was always in service to other people. That's how you can be remembered. That's how you can feel fulfilled. That's how your life would matter. And it comes from the basic consideration that you have for mankind and humanity. Don't always look to cheat other people. Don't always look at your own interests every time. That's how to live life. That's how to get the fulfillment and satisfaction you need from life. You must understand that the central theme to life, number one, you must have the right mindset about money. Number two, have an identity that works and reassures you. I always recommend the Christian faith. Number three, live life in service to others. The entirety of the life should not just be that I was born, I went to school, I graduated, I worked, and the living. That's the definition of working. Got married, had kids, had grandkids, died. That's too small. Live life in service to others. I hope all of these things helps. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Please share my videos. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.